show you to a certain extent that there are jobs out there, you know, still advertising for safety. And again, you know, preference is often, you know, for the NEBOSH by name, right? I mean, they didn't call any entity there by name to say Cipriani or UV or Custard. The only thing spelled out there by name is the NEBOSH qualification. When you get some chance or time, you can look at the one. There's another one. There's one from Ramco, but we really more of a manager position. So they're looking for a full degree, and the NEBOSH certificate will be a part of that, right? So I think everyone would have gotten a new PowerPoint sometime this week. Everybody got their hands on that? Yes?
Yes, I know.
Yes, okay, yes. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So, trying to get this a little bit bigger here for you. So, yeah, so today it's element 2. Again, I'm not quite sure if you all have a syllabus, but the syllabus is online. Maybe one of the days we can go back and do like an orientation. It's simple to get. You just have to go on the NEBOSH site, click NEBOSH, and then Google. And you'll have to just put in your subject and you get under resources and you're going to get your syllabus there anyway, right? But this is element 2. The only thing I tell you is that in terms of the textbooks, though, I'm not quite sure where all this information falls because I don't have a textbook. But again, all you have to do is just look at the table of contents, and if you see health and safety management system and health and safety policy, on the syllabus, though, it's element 2, right? As the way it is in the book. I could probably guess because I'm familiar with the green book, the green big textbook. It's in chapter 2. And the other book, you'll have to look at the table of contents. One of my lecturers have the other book. And then, again, I think you all know this story. We give out all the books anyway, right? But once you can find it, you could do some reading on that. So what this means is that from last week, we are out of the laws, or much of the laws, and the you know, the criminal law, civil law. I mean, that was the hard lesson anyway, right? And the thing about this lesson is that it could be deceptively short, right? I think I mentioned this, and normally when we do this in class, this whole element is completed in just one sitting, one day. Now, that one day is normally over 2 hours, because a typical face-to-face class would have been 2 hours. The Zoom classes are 1 hour. So you could probably, and there's only 5 elements, just in case you miss orientation, there's only 5 elements to make up NG1. And the first element, of course, is the hardest. It took us about 4 sessions anyway. But this would finish by next week, right? We may not finish it today. And I say deceptively so short because I could have finished it today, but I don't want to finish it today, right? I'll finish it next week, and so that we don't rush any of the concepts. And then from there will be element 3, which is health and safety culture. And then it's element 4, and then a little bit of 5, right? So it's not a very long course, but that first element made it look like a harder course anyway, right? So today, though, what will happen in about 15 minutes time, I want to do some explanation, right? Like I said, these things are easily explained, and once you get the explanation, you see how easy it is, right? It's not going to be too much of laws. There is a piece of law in this, but maybe just a 2 marks. But the explanation and the rest of the course, much of it is like that. For then, those of us who know safety, then we're going to be talking about in lessons coming up, risk assessments and first aid and normal stuff to safety. It wouldn't really sound too much like a law course anymore. Just element 1 had that heavy law component in it anyway, right? So let me go into this one. I am recording this session, right? However, though, we already have a recording on this on the YouTube channel, right? Has quite a number of views anyway, to tell you that students do look at it. And that, that review is about just about 10 minutes long. So what I did, I think initially when I started, remember I didn't have Zoom and we didn't have, you know, there was no we didn't have the idea of creating lessons on the channel anyway. It was just like a channel for summaries, right? So there was a summary of this lesson posted already. But again, this has been recorded, so maybe we can post this up again. And if anybody would like to get it, you know, they can probably come by the office with a flash drive. I think it was given trouble to email. Yesterday, I was able to upload last week's class. In case you missed last week's class, it went up yesterday evening. For some strange reason, it took about 4 hours, but then finally, after the 4 hours, it finally was uploaded to the YouTube channel. It takes like a percentage, you see like 10% upload, 20% upload. It takes about 4 hours to get to 95% uploaded anyway, right? So that's how that, at least that's how this system works on that YouTube channel anyway. There isn't any way around it, right? But last week's lesson was uploaded in case you missed it. You know, you can probably go back to the channel and have a look at it. I think we had the name of it corporate manslaughter and negligence was the name of that lesson from last week. All right. Anyway, nonetheless, are going into this one, right? So the objective of this session to facilitate meaning towards the following themes. Give an overview of the elements of a health and safety management system and the benefits of having a formal certified system. Again, if you ever wonder where these lines are coming from, this is from your syllabus. This is exactly what the syllabus, this 2.1 is from the syllabus. Same thing we would have done in the first lesson. 2.2, discuss the main ingredients of health and safety management system that make it effective, general policy, organization, and arrangements. So again, these two things used to be able to be finished in 2 hours time, but I suppose as it is an hour, I think we can probably still get into a bit of 2.2, but I think most of today may just be about 2.1, right? So the revision would have been all the things in the law from last week classes. What I want to tell you is that, you know, please try to get some time and review your handout, right? Just to kill some time here. I mean, for some strange reason, you know, like when students ask, you know, like, what did you study from, or how did I study? Normally, my first response is the handout, right? The handout is what you study first, and then you get back into the textbook. Right? The handout is one handout so far. So to me, I just can't see why people just say, well, you know, we haven't studied chapter one, but then chapter one was one handout, right? So what I used to do, I used to have it all the time with me, right? On work, I would have it on work, lunchtime, at work. This is when I was, you know, working elsewhere, of course. You know, so I'll always have it with me, and I'll have it in the car sometimes driving and whatever have you. Say it's that short now. It's like a little handout. It's a little bit more, I guess, easier to transport than transporting a textbook around. So first thing is your handout, because the handout is written to the syllabus, and then supplementary information. You can get the supplementary information via your textbook, right? So what I'll do, again, I want to do some explanation as opposed to reading. So I'm going to show you all of this here and tell you what this is all about. So this is all about something that some of us may be familiar with in the companies, is something called the health and safety policy. Now, if you have worked before, or you have probably visited a company, as you enter the company's in a reception area, typically just above where the receptionist would be located, you would find some plaques, right? And on those plaques, you would find, like, for example, the vision of the company, the mission of the company, and in some companies, you find the health and safety policy. So this is what this whole lesson is all about. This is that plaque sort of statement you see just as you enter a company, right? And they ask you, well, what is the purpose of that? If you all have been to some of the places that I guess people don't visit too much now would be like TN Tech, the TN Tech office to pay your light bill, or Flow, or to the banks or wherever have you. They all have a health and safety policy, right? It's Flow have their own, you know, it's big, it's laminated, it's to the side of those caches on them there. So this lesson is all about that. If you don't know what was the health and safety policy, this is an idea of what that is. It is like that plaque, or that sort of statement you would see that the company will commit themselves to. Some companies create taglines out of them, and you would often see those taglines like on the coverall of the workers. I'm sure you all have seen workers with coveralls, and on it, it have words like safety is my, you make it finish up.
Number one priority.
Right, safety is my first priority, and a lot of companies have it. You have, I've seen people that have safety 24/7, Think Safe, Atlantic LNG, as well as BP. They have a very famous one. I don't know if you want to write it down. And this is simply because should NEBOSH, I mean, just so you would understand, I wouldn't really say NEBOSH should ask you what is a policy, but so that you understand that this lesson is not an abstract lesson. You understand that this is about that statement. This is about that plaque we see on the wall. This lesson is about that. So Atlantic have a really nice one. And I mean, a lot of the companies associated with them have it as well. They have one that says, we will do the work safe or not at all, right? That's a really good one, right? We will do the work safe or not at all. So this is about that statement. So if you understand that, you can see how some of this thing makes sense. So the slide you're looking at here, they now ask, so, but then what is the purpose of that then? Why bother go and create a policy and laminate it and then sew on the words and the coveralls and stuff, right? So what does it do? They say it provides a focus for the organization in terms of health and safety. It provides a focus, mean that that everybody then would have something to work towards, right? If they say safety is my first priority, it's kind of like a goal then that they will have, or like I want to use the word like a mantra. It's kind of like a tagline, like a slogan then, right? So it provides a focus for the organization in terms of health and safety. It provides focus for the organization in terms of self-regulation. Now, what is self-regulation? Self-regulation is when you're seeing about your own self. Self-regulation is when you take care of safety without the OSH inspectors coming by, right? So like one of the purpose why they will have safety is my first priority is because they want to deal with safety there. They don't want OSHA to come by and have to do that for them. So by putting a slogan like safety is my first priority, or we will do the job safe or not at all, is a means of the company regulating themselves so that they don't have to wait for somebody to come with a big stick approach, you know, to come and tell them what to do, but they are regulating their own performance, their own organization, their own employees, right? It demonstrates visible management commitment to health and safety. Now, that is actually true, and a really key word they say is visible, because as you enter these companies, you see it displayed on the wall. You see this thing that says, you know, we at Flow, they're using Flow, so that anybody could see that one. We are committed to providing a safe place of work. We are committed to providing an atmosphere that is free, you know, of whatever, bullying or hazards or whatever have you. So it demonstrates the commitment from management. And one of the ways that is done is that the policy statement that you see in the plaque is normally signed at the end of the statement, right? So the fact that the manager signed it and they normally put a date to it, it shows that they would have reviewed it and they are committed to it, hence the signature at the bottom of it, right? So that has been a question for NEBOSH before, like how can a manager show their commitment to health and safety? I think one of the ways, or two of the ways, there could be that they could be involved in coming up with that slogan, right? I don't know if you have, like I said, I'm not too sure how much of us have experience in safety, but if you go to a company as a safety, one of your jobs then, as years go by, they could ask you, you know, can we tweak our statement, you know, from what it was before, right? Can we come up with a new one, something maybe fresher, something like what Atlantic had? I'm just making up that there, right? So like, so you may be in charge of that. So what I'm saying is that if you can get a manager involved in it, it could show that they too would have been committed, you know, to the process then of managing health and safety by coming up with a slogan for health and safety. And again, think about this one, like when they say safety is my first priority, or safety 24/7, or we do the job safe or not at all, it does show that they are trying to improve on their performance. So it does show continual improvement. So this, not I could go fast on this slide, but I want to tell you that this is a passive question, right? They have asked before, what is the purpose? Instead of putting rule here, they have asked before, what is the purpose of a health and safety policy? So you can give them any answer from here. If you remember it, fine. A purpose is like it creates a goal for the workers, right? I actually remember, well, more than 10, 15 years ago, right? Went to work in a company called IAL. They are located in Cross in San Fernando there. And I remember we had some motors or some metal components to move, right? And I took them up. I took them up and I was going to carry them by hand. And the workers in the company stopped me and they said, you know, we really don't move these things by hand here. You have to use something called a pallet jack, right? You put it on a pallet, you tie it to the pallet. A pallet jack is something that you probably find it in the groceries and stuff as well. But that's the idea now, like because the company would have been, the workers would have been so in tune with the goal of the company, right? You know, like having no accidents or whatever have it, they actually stopped me. And it was not really a manager, it was just a normal worker. And they said that, you know, you can't move it by hand. You have to use, put it on a pallet and go get a pallet jack and move it out of there, right? So I say that it does provide focus. The fact that when you say we do the job safe or not at all, it does provide focus then for the employees and for the workers of that company nonetheless, right? If you all want to think about it, like I said, it's not part of the NEBOSH course, but we do have other safety courses. I mean, the level 3 is the main course. There's I mean, the main course to be employed anyway, right? But we do have other courses. I know one of the, in one of the other courses, like one of the lower level course, we normally tell students to try to come up with your own policy. Let's say you had to write one. You had to write a policy for yourself, right? Like okay, like that catchy statement, what would it have been? It's not part of NEBOSH, I'm just telling you, right? Because I guess when that time comes, if you're working, you can simply go and research. You could probably research what is you know, DMOS or BP or Shell or whatever have you, and make a, you know, like sort of tweak it anyway to make it into a policy. It's not really part of NEBOSH though. This on this slide is more NEBOSH though, but it's a nice idea to think about. If you had to make up a policy statement, what would you have put in that policy statement, right? It's not part of NEBOSH though, right? So I'm moving on to another slide. See if you have any questions, right? So I would summarize this slide here. This slide is talking about is a guidance in the UK known as HSG 65. And a guidance is a book. I know we came across that in one of our other lessons with HSE guidances and ECOPS and stuff. A guidance is a book. So there's a book for management systems. It's known as HSG 65. There's nothing here to learn, just information to, I guess, to keep to the back of your mind. And it does show you something called the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, known as the PDCA cycle. And that PDCA cycle is what they would have, well, I wouldn't say take, but they take the principles of it and they created a management system in the world for safety known as ISO 45001. So you may have to know this. Now, when I say me, this is a new management system. It kind of came out like 2 years ago. So there are no NEBOSH questions on it as it is a new management system, right? Just to kind of let the ideas flow there, I'll come back to this a bit. When I say they took the PDC, if you can look at this chart here, I guess those of us, I think everybody had this soft copy. What you may want to do with this soft copy of the PowerPoint is maybe to blow up this slide a bit and to print it, right? You know, what I was saying is that they did take the PDCA cycle and they made the management system of it. And what that simply means is that there's a part then of the cycle that focuses on planning, right? I'm going too fast there, sorry about that, right? Right, yes, so there's a part of it that focuses on planning. Then there's a part of it that focuses on doing, right? There's a part of it that focuses on checking, and there's a part of it that focuses on acting. So that's what I mean. They took the principles of that book and they created this management system here known as ISO 45001. So if I can, in fact, no, let me just stick with this. What I would probably tell you is that you should try to learn 4 elements of this. Only 4, right? There have been no questions on it, but again, that's because it was new to the syllabus anyway. Plus, we're already working with a newer syllabus anyway. But you can learn 4 elements of the ISO 45001 system. You can pick any 4, right? So you can pick something like, and I like some of the good ones. I guess you could take today's lesson, which is the policy. All management system must have a policy, right? Leadership is a nice one because the managers have to show their commitment. There's 2 that we covered today. So leadership and commitment. And that when they sign the policy, it does show commitment. So that's 2. And they can pick any 2 more. I mean, the list is kind of like endless because they have up to 10 elements in this, right? But some easy ones, I guess that students may have remembered before. They could have continued improvement. You saw that on the slide, so that's 3. They have contractor management, and this is common for all management systems, how to manage contractors, and the allocation of resources to manage those contractors. So that until NEBOSH bring a question on this, we would not know how this would come. But in the past, if I can go back to this slide now, before the management system was called ISO 45001, it was called OSAS 18001. If we have any older students, and not really older because this is just 2 years ago, they used to call it OSAS 18001. When those questions come, they will ask students just to name 4 parts of it. So that's what I'll tell you, to learn 4 parts of the 45001 model anyway, right? Just in case you have no idea what these things are, just to break it down for you, and it's not really the lesson anyway, but just to tell you, these are standards by which your company can get a certificate if they meet the standard, right? So I'm not too sure if you all, you know, have been, I guess, if you look at any companies, you know, like Massey is one, of course I could call others, but even customer-driven companies like Penta, Dan Steel, customer-driven companies where customers are the main source of income then, right? Pentas and Penta Paints, right? You sometimes see these companies, they have up on their wall, they have a certificate, right? They have a certificate say that we are 9001 compliant, like 9001 is down here. 9001 is a quality standard, but for safety, the standard is 45001, right? So this is what this is, that the company will have to go through a series of, I want to use the word audits, and they will have these 10 elements that are the prepared documents for. They're the prepared documents of all of this to submit to an auditor, and if they pass the audit, they have to pay some monies too. This is about 20 to 30,000 TT. If they pass the audit, they will get a certificate saying we at Demas Oil are now ISO 45001 compliant, right? Again, you may see ISO if you go to Hardwares, if you're going to Dan Steel or to Allied in San Fernando. A lot of companies have the quality standards, and you go, you see that we are ISO 9001 compliant. 45001, this is environmental, right? So some environmental companies may have that. You may not see a lot of this in Trinidad as yet because it is 2 years old, plus this year has been interrupted with, you know, the coronavirus, right? But that is what this is. ISO 45001 is very similar to 9001. It is an internationally recognized standard. And once the company passes that audit, they're going to get a certificate saying that they are ISO 45001 compliant or ISO 9001 compliant if they were seeking quality compliance, right? So that is what that is. Let's see if you have any questions on that there. So coming out of that, ISO is not for an individual, then it's more for a company. And once they pass through that, right? Once they pass through the audit, right? And if you look at today's class is focusing on the policy part of the whole management system, which is 45,001, right? It's focusing on that. But once they come up with a policy and they implement it and they have resources for it and they manage contractors and they meet the audit, score, the company itself will be getting an ISO certificate, right? There are few places in Trinidad that actually does that. If anybody wants, I could probably tell you or no, I don't know if you'll know it now, but if anybody wants, there are two good places I know that actually does this types of audits. It's actually not meant for you, it's meant for a company. So that would only mean that you're working for a company and the company wants to improve their standards. So they would subject themselves to this kind of like year-long preparation, because all of these things has to be prepared and then money have to be spent to hire the auditors and them to come. And it's quite expensive, right? Some places more expensive than the other place. Anybody know anything like this or work in any company similar to this? But you all understand. I mean, those who, I mean, I guess you all understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. That it is.
Yeah.
Right. That it is an external thing. Right. It's very similar to STOW. If you know what, and I hope not to confuse it with STOW, but it's very similar to STOW. Something called STOW. STOW.
Yeah.
Where the company go through an audit again. And then if they pass the audit, then they're going to get a STOW certificate. But the thing about STOW though is that STOW is local, whereas ISO, if you look at this slide, it is internationally recognized. So if you get, it's kind of like, let me just see, it's kind of like our school, right? I don't know if you all know that that we have, the school here have, we have UK certification. Right? The school is what you call an approved NEBOSH provider. But then we also have local accreditation from the Accreditation Council, right? So you can think of it like these two may be local and then the ISO is global, right? So it's kind of like that anyway, but we have to go through those audits. And then once we pass them, we normally get the certificate saying that you are ACTT registered, which is the Accreditation Council, or you are either a NEBOSH course provider, right? All right, okay.
I was sort of on the internet researching and I saw something with the ROSPA, which is the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents.
Yeah. That may be something voluntary. That may be like a voluntary standard as well. I mean, companies can choose voluntary standards to try to meet a standard then, right? But I think that could be the Royal Society. I think there's ROSPA. I think there's a ROSPA standard, ROSPA standards, and none of these standards are law. That's a good thing about them. An ISO standard is not the law. You choose, and I mean you, the company choose to say that they want to be ISO certified. So the ROSPA standards, ISO standards, even STOW is not the law in Trinidad and Tobago. These things exist where you could choose to bring your company up to that standard once you have the time and the money, because I tell you, there's a lot of things, all of these things that you see on this slide, they did up to the 10 point something points. You have to prepare the company along those guidelines. But it is not law. So ROSPA is a similar standard, right? ROSPA, the Royal Society, I think, of Occupational Practitioners, I think they are a voluntary standard as well, right? If you want to choose that way. But I think in the world of standards, ISO is the best. The ISO standards. STOW is still just local to Trinidad and Tobago nonetheless anyway. Yeah. All right, so moving on. So if you got all of that, this slide may be easy for you. So what is the benefit then? I mean, why put yourself through all of that, right? And I don't know, I mean, like I said, I teach you from the perspective that you all are not in safety, but again, if you are, it will be easier for you to understand, right? I had one of my students, I don't know if Risa may remember her, a student by the name of Diana Bell, and she got into work for this big security company, and I don't know if Janet can remember it by heart now. The biggest security company in Trinidad, Amalgamated, right? She got into work for Amalgamated, and one of her job was that, in that they had to go, one of her job was that she had to go and try to get them ISO certified, TOO certified, etc., right? So she, every time I talk to her, she would say she's working long hours, weekends, because there's all of these things then on the chart. You have to kind of get it in order, document it, and have it there for the auditors. So my question is, why go through all of that, right? So why would a company want to subject themselves to such a tough audit, pay the monies? Why do all of that? So the answer is here. It is like a boosting point then. It's kind of like a boosting point. And once you get this certificate, it could actually give you access to contracts and tendering requirements, right? Like a company may say, in order for you to get this contract, you must be ISO compliant, or in Trinidad and Tobago, this is TOO, right? I don't know if you know this, that I might not have so much to talk about, but in Trinidad and Tobago, most contractors, if they want to get a contract from the energy companies, the company must be what is called TOO certified. They must get that audit done, and they must get a certificate done. So without it, they would not have access to the bidding process to even get or be considered for receiving a tender, right? So after all of that, there is some benefit to it, that you can get access to tenders, and you may spend, you can probably think of it as like you may spend up to $100,000, right? I mean, that's the real figure. You may spend up to about $100,000 and getting one of those certificates, right? And the thing is, well, how do you justify that amount of money? But the thing is, one tender may end up being like $1 million tender, right? You can get a tender with the government or whatever have you with Atlantic LNG. So one of those tenders may end up being like $1 million tender. So, you know, you spend close to $100,000, but then you get access now to further contracts. As I mentioned before, could be seen as a boosting point, so it increases reputation as a safer company, especially when companies like Demas Oil and Atlantic LNG can now say that we are now ISO compliant, we are now TOO certified, right? Better organization of health and safety, from policy formulation to management review. I can actually show you that. I mean, what they're saying there is what you saw on the chart, that if you have a management system, if you just go back to the chart, if you have a management system, and this is ISO 45001, you will have a policy and it will be reviewed. See if you see those points right there. You can't get a certificate if you don't have a policy and you're not reviewing it, right? So the fact that you have the certificate means that your company have a policy and that they are reviewing it, right? So it means that these things will be organized, and if I could break that down for you even further, organized means that these things are literally in folders. Well, when we do this for companies, we actually do store consultancy for companies as well. These things are in literal folders, like a manila folder. So when the auditor asks, where is the policy? We will bring the policy for them. It's in a folder, right? Where is your budget? 7.1. Where is your budget for safety? And where is the budget for the equipment? We just bring the folder. Literally, these things are in folders, right? Where is the evidence of managers reviewing performance? That all of that is literally in a folder. So in a way, I suppose a knockdown benefit of having, you know, put yourself through that is that you will be better organized. And as I was saying here, better organization of the documents in health and safety, because you really do have it off into little folders, and it ends up being about 11 folders, as you saw there, 10.2. So literally about, you know, 10.2 elements or 10 and more elements. So literally ends up being about 11 plus folders anyway, literal hard binder folders anyway, right? Positive driver for health and safety, or safety culture, with fewer accidents and better hazard awareness. Again, because your company is now organized, you should get, you know, a better culture towards health and safety and fewer accidents and hazard awareness, right? So some knockdown benefits is that you will have reduced work-related injuries. You will have a health and safety policy, because we just saw that in the chat. You must have that, so you're going to have that. it should demonstrate leadership and commitment with respect to the occupational health and safety management system. As again, you did see, I can go back and show you one by one that leadership is a part of it. You have to show leadership. One way, we said today, one way the leaders could show their commitment is not just sticking up that plaque on the wall, but signing it, put their signature and date it at the end of it. So it meant they read it and they endorsed it then, right? Reduce occupational health and safety risk. And again, I guess with the reduced accidents stemming from this point up here, you could have reduced insurance premiums at the same time, right? So this slide is a repeat of the one you saw before. What is the role of the policy? Provides focus on the organization, provides focus on the organization in terms of self-regulation, demonstrate visible management commitment, and continual improvements. It's a repeat of a slide before, just to kind of tell you that you are going more into the policy now, right? So here is a 2-mark question. I kind of slow down a little bit because the topic kind of changing a little bit from talking about management systems. We're now coming back to policy. That's why I put back this slide there anyway, right? So this is a 2-mark question. They have asked before, well, I'll take it from the top of the slide. They have asked, what is the legal requirement for having a health and safety policy document, right? Now, let me just say that again, but I guess say it in Trinidad language, right? The first thing I'll tell is that we don't talk like this in Trinidad. We don't say what is the legal requirement, but that's how they talk for exam, right? What they're asking you here for, they're asking you for, in Trinidad language, they're asking you for what section of the act, if you remember that act there, the same act from chapter, well, element 1, the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. They're asking you what section of the act say you must have a policy, but they don't talk like us. So they don't, the exam question wouldn't say that. The exam question wouldn't say what section of the act requires a policy. They would say this phrase here, what is the legal requirement? So that's how they talk, I guess the law talk anyway, right? Or they talk in England. What is the legal requirement for having a policy? And again, I kind of translate that to Trinidad English. What that means is that what section of the policy says, what section of the law says we must have a policy, and the answer is right. And the answer is the section of the law that requires a policy is section 2, subsection 3 of the HSW Act 1974, right? And what it says is that the employer shall prepare a policy written if there are 5 or more employees and revise it as necessary. They should state the organization and arrangements for bringing the policy into effect and bring it to the attention of the employees. So this now becomes a 2 marks. So I said that before, so you need to give them 2 things here, but you're seeing 3, right? But you just need to give them 2, right? You're seeing 3, but you need to give them the first line here. Normally what we have seen in examiners' reports is that you have to say the legal requirement is in section 2, subsection 3, and you have to go on to say, if the employer has 5 or more employees, they must have a policy in writing. And for the examiner's report, they normally tie the last line with it. You need to bring it to the attention of the employees, which is why we see it, I guess, displayed throughout the company so that the employees can see it. In other words then, think of it as what I have in this folder here. It makes no sense coming up with a policy and then here show nobody it. It makes no sense coming up with a nice line, you know, we will do the job safe or not do it at all, or safety is my first priority. But you come up with it, right? But then here show nobody it, right? So that doesn't make sense. So the law is saying come up with it, shall prepare, but then show everybody it, bring it to the attention of the employees, which is why I was telling you before, you see it, you know, into the coveralls, and you see it to the back of the coveralls, and some companies put it on their vehicles, the company vans have them, as you enter the company, the reception area have them. So that's all part of the second line, which is that in addition to coming up with it, you're not gonna hide it in a folder, but you're gonna bring it to the attention of the employees. So this is something to learn by heart. However, you just need to learn 2 of the lines. You don't need to learn all 3, but you need to know section 2, subsection 3 by heart. On the video I have on YouTube, I think I made mention that students could remember this if you all, I guess, like basketball. You know, Michael Jordan, if you're that old anyway, his number was 23. The jersey he wore was 23, so you could take this to be 23. I think LeBron James, to a certain extent, was actually wearing a 23. I know it was 33, but then they actually changed it to 23, his jersey as well, right? So that's a fun way of remembering that there. Section 2, subsection 3, it will give you 2 marks, but you must learn 2 of these lines with it as well, right? All right. So this, I mean, the same thing is said in another law, the management regs. This one, you don't have to learn this one. One law is good enough. The management regs are 1999, Regulation 5. Also make mentions of arrangements for effective planning, organization, control. And again, it must be in writing if you have 5 or more employees, but there's no need to overdo it. The first law is the one that, this one here is the one that normally comes for exam. And preparing the lesson, we have to cover what's on the syllabus. The truth is, this then says that the same thing is said twice. There are 2 laws that require you to have a policy, but for exam is only one they'll give you the mark for anyway. And this is the main one. This is the old, you know, grandfather law from 1974 anyway. This is the main law for health and safety. These are more regulations, which are spin-offs from the Act itself, from the HSW Act on the previous slide. All right, so what I wanted to do here, I guess I could read this slide for you, and then I wanted to do some of the explanation I was telling you about. It's actually already 1:15, but we have actually finished 2.1, and we are getting into the policy, which is 2.2, right? Let me just read this slide for you, and then I'll show you what I wanted to do. But I would try not to finish. Believe it or not, we are almost finished now, right? If we had another hour, we would have finished. But I want to try, there's an explanation I normally do on the board. So I'm going to have to use my whiteboard in a bit, and I'll show you how we could explain this first piece of it here. But I'll read this slide for you first, right? So general policy statement, aims and objectives. I'll read it out and then I'll do the explanation, right? So to provide adequate control of the health and safety risk arising from our work activities. So I think we kind of say that about the policy already. To consult with our employees on matters affecting their health and safety. Oh no, I think this here, this was an example of what a policy could look like. This is an example of what this person could hold in their, I guess, in their hand. So in case you wanted to make up one, this was an example of what a policy could have in it, right? To provide and maintain safe plants and equipment, to ensure safe handling and use of substances, and you could literally make up anything here. To provide information, instruction, and training and supervision for employees, must be signed and dated. So this is like what could go into a policy aim and objectives, like what you want to achieve with your policy. But we're going to do that now anyway, right? So, like I said, I think this is being recorded, right? We're recording this. So what I'm gonna do, you know, I could actually fit it right here. I think I could get a mark and fit it right there, right? So if you have any pencils or anything, though, there's a little kind of like a chart here that you have to take down. I say kind of a chart because we are not finishing it, right? We won't be able to finish, you know, more or less, but we'll start the chart. So what you need to know, see if we could chart something like this out, is that a policy, and of course my lines will be bent, but hopefully yours are a little bit straighter, right? A policy would have 3 pieces to it. And in the next 10 minutes or so, I'll just try to finish off the first piece of it. So this here is the policy, right? This is the health and safety policy. And a policy normally has 3 pieces to it, right? And we're going to focus on the first piece, which is the heading there. The heading is called the statement of intent, right? So I'll try to fit in the word here, statement of intent. But there are 3 pieces there. I'm just going to talk about one today, though, right? So this is the statement of intent. And this is a piece with the aims and the objectives and the statement of intent, right? I'll try to put the word intent as well. And I wonder if I give you all three pieces, but I wouldn't be able to go into the other pieces, right? Statement of intent is the first piece. That's the heading you're seeing on the slide, the statement of intent. Let me try to finish this chart off because it'll be much of an incomplete chart if I don't do that. This piece of it, the middle piece of it, is called the organization, right? So next week we'll talk about this here. The middle piece of the policy is called the organization. You just jot this down a bit, right? And the last, of course, that's spelled wrong there. That's supposed to be an E, right? So the organization, as you can make out some piece of it. The last piece of the policy is called arrangement. So there are three pieces of a policy: statement of intent. If it is, for those of us who have the slides, if you're just gonna look at the other slides, you'll have to see it. If it just go a little bit forward, you'll see statement of intent, you see organization, and the last piece of it is called arrangements. So we'll just get to the first piece today, as I was saying, right? So I'll just maybe try to put the word arrange here. Right, so these are the arrangements. Next week, like I said, on YouTube, we have a good video on this already that's much better than this, of course. I mean, this is live teaching anyway, but the one on YouTube would have been done for YouTube. It would not have had, you know, I guess, Zoom in it. I guess in it, it's meant for YouTube anyway. So all these things are done already, right? Yeah, anyway, see if you understand it. So I want to show you something. So this is, the three pieces of a policy. Now, when I say three pieces, you have to remember that the policy, if you remember the slide I had before this, had somebody holding like a book in their hand, right? And when we say the three pieces of the policy, this is like three sections then in the policy, right? If you were to open the policy book, this would be like three headings in the book. There's a heading called the statement of intent. There's a heading called the organization, and there's a statement called the arrangements, and all of this makes up the policy book itself, right? So the policy book then, if you're having trouble with this, think of this as, I guess it's for those who do work in stage, right? But if you're having trouble with it, you can think of it as if you go to work for the first time, they may have given you an employee handbook. So likewise, this is a policy book, is a policy handbook that the company wrote down, right? And as you open the policy handbook or the employee handbook, if you're more familiar with that, you would see the table of contents. And this is what I'm telling you, these headings here are like the table of contents that you'll find in the safety policy handbook, right? If it's an employee handbook, you may see, I guess they'll have a heading on regularity and punctuality and dress code and the use of substances, cigarette, marijuana, etc. Right? So that you'll find those in an employee handbook, right? But we're not talking an employee handbook, we're talking about a safety policy book. So think of these as the three headings you'll find as you open the book. There'll be a heading called the statement of intent. So when we say three pieces of the policy, please remember it's not, I mean, a policy is not an abstract I was saying, but a policy is a book, right? It's like a book they give you, like an employee handbook. And as you open the book, you're gonna see these three pieces inside of it, or these three headings inside of the book, right? So we're just gonna touch on, it's already that late, we're just gonna touch on the first one here, and then we're gonna expand these next week anyway, right? So the statement of intent is the one that we were talking about today. This one gives you the aims of the company. This one sets out the aim of the company. If you read this slide before, you'd have seen that they said, you know, like an aim is to provide a safe place of work. It sets out the aims of the company. My S giving me trouble. So the aims, the objectives, right? So the aims, the objectives, and what we call, some people call it the goal of the company, like what they want to achieve with that policy book then. What they want to achieve. What is the aims, objectives, goals? Some people say this in different ways, and I tell you, that's because when you go to some companies, when you look at the board, or not the board, sorry, but I guess the wall, and you see the plaque behind the receptionist, they have different words of that. Some people use the word mission statement, right? So this have like a mission statement in it. Some people have the word vision statement, right? So, but all of that, you'll find it in the part of the book that's entitled the statement of intent. So try to slip in these words here: mission. The I come on too good here. This one is vision. What's the vision for the company, right? So what's the mission? What's the vision of the company? All of this is different ways of saying the same thing. Or it's a way of getting you to understand that in the statement of intent, we have the aims of the company, we have the goals of the company, we have the mission of the company, we have the vision of the company, right? So before I move on right here, I want to tell you that this is a passive question, right? Passives have asked before, what are the 3 sections of a policy? You already have the answer here. This is a 6-mark question here. And we're focusing on this piece here, so I'll draw a line here, but this line not supposed to be here. This part is exactly, this line is not part of the charter, but I'll draw it just for distinguishing purposes, right? They have also asked before, what is the purpose of the statement of intent? Right? I don't know if you can squeeze in the word purpose there. So the purpose is right there. The purpose of the statement of intent is to give the company what is the aims of the policy, what is the objectives, what is the goal, what is the mission, what is the vision. That's the purpose of the statement of intent. Right? So make sure you get it. And there's one more thing to add to it. I can't believe it's already 25 past 1, right? It's that late already, right? Let me just try to break this down for you fast, right? Anyway, here what you need to know from now, right? So you may have to finish this for homework, right? On top of that, right? So this is clear, but NEBOSH should ask what is the 3 parts of the policy. Fine, you have it there. You can look through your notes, you'll see it. They could ask what is the purpose of the statement of intent. Fine, there's this answer right here. But one of the things they have asked before is for you to give them or make up 4 aims of your company. Now we saw some on this slide before. Let's make up any 4 aims of your company. Make up 4 things that you want to achieve, right? So I don't know if let me give you one and see if anybody could come in and give me some, and we'll end this session there. But perhaps for homework, we actually have 10 persons on today, right? So perhaps for homework, you could probably try to get maybe you could try to get up to 6. I don't really think they will give you more than 6, right? We will just do 3 today, right? So try to finish up to about 6 aims. And what is an aim? An aim is, what does the company want to achieve with the statement of intent then, right? What do they want to achieve? You can simply just make it up. I'm gonna take up my numbers somewhere, right? But you can go up to 6. I'm just gonna take up these because I want the space to write anyway, right? But what do they want to achieve? And literally you can make up anything there. You can make up anything that you think could be a company's aim. What do you think a company would want to put in their policy book, safety policy book for employees, right? So if you want, I could start on one here. I could probably say like, I think one of the aims they want to have, let's say a simple one, like they want to, so to reduce, I'll write this one out, and whichever I say again, I'll probably just have you all write it. So to reduce, a nice aim to have is to reduce accidents to what? Any ideas? Reduce accidents to what number?
0.
0, very good, right? So they want to reduce accidents to 0. So it's that easy. It's just to make up anything you want, or you think you feel a company would want to achieve, you just make it up there. So that's why, and this, by the way, that's an 8-mark question here. The reason I say 8, because remember on top here is already 4. If they ask you what is the 3 pieces of the policy, you have to say statement of intent, organization, arrangements, right? 3 marks. What is the purpose of the statement of intent? It gives the aim and objective of the company, that's 4 marks. And then to give 4 actual aims is another 4 marks, right? Anybody could make up one for me? The book, by the way, those of us, I know Marcus, and could have been Nathaniel or Nigel Smart, I think it is. I think you all have, I'm not sure if Rennie, you have a green book or you have one of the other 2 books?
Green.
The green?
Yeah.
Oh, the green book have it very nice. The green book have it. The green book have about 100 different statements of intents. All right, it's in chapter 2. I'm not too sure where, but you have to find the find there's a little heading which is the same heading, statement of intent. And I suppose the other books have the same thing too, and they just list out bullet points after bullet points after bullet points. You have about 4 pages of statements of intent, but you don't need 4 pages. You only need 4, and you can just make it up if you just put your mind to it. Like, for example, what do you think they want to achieve with smoking? Right? What do you think the goal would be? Like, what do you think a company goal would be with smoking? So they could probably say, like, we want to have a no smoking policy, right? So then you put that there for number 2. So you can say one of the goals they want is to have a no smoking policy. Anybody could give me 2 more? I kind of give you two already there. What do you think a company would want to have? We have to reduce accidents to 0. I'll put here no smoking. Literally, you could just make up like what you think a company wants to achieve, right? I kind of like the idea of making it up, because when you make it up, it means you don't have to go and cram it. It also means that you understand it, so you don't have to go and just refer to the book all the time. Anybody could think, what is do you think they want to achieve? Let me just give you a subject matter then. So
trustworthiness.
Say again.
Like undoubtedly trustworthiness to the employees.
Well, yes, right. But the thing about these aims is that you have to be able to measure them. So like when you say you want to reduce accidents to 0, at the end of the month, you have to be able to measure that. I'm not too sure how they will measure trustworthiness though, right? I mean, it's a nice moral point, right? But the thing about these aims, then they have to be real. They have to be, when I mean real, it have to be kind of like knock on wood that they had to be able to measure it, right?
A safe working environment.
Say it.
A safe working environment.
Okay, very good. So a safe working environment. I might be able to fit all of that, but I'll take it anyway. So a safe working environment.
0 lost time injury.
Very good. 0 lost time injury. And things like you can just make them up. Like, okay, what about drills? Do you think they want to do drills? Fire drills? Do you think a company would want to do fire drills?
Yeah.
Right. So then you can just make up one and say, okay, just let them make it up and say, okay, like number 5. Like they will say, like, we are committed to doing 4 drills for the year. That's how simple it is. You just have to pick a subject and it's like, think about a company, right? Like what they want to achieve. So they want to do some drills. Just say that we are committed to 2 drills for the year, 1 drill for the year, 4 drills for the year. Things like risk assessments. We are committed to doing risk assessments. And that's what RA here. So you see how the numbers roll and you can just make it up. What about things like environmental spills? You think a company wants any spills?
No.
No, so then they say we are committed to having 0 spills or no spills, no chemical spills. And that is how simple this is anyway, right? In short, your aim and your goal and your mission is what you intend for your company. We intend, we had in a statement of intent, we intend to have 0 accidents. No smoking policy, safe working place. Can't remember what this one was. Right? We intend to do 2 drills for the year. We intend to do risk assessments. We intend to have no spills, right? But it's as simple as that, and you only need 4. You only need 4 of that, right? So the book has it extensively. If you could just, like, what about training? I think somebody said training, or I think we hit it to a safe place of work. So you could say, like a goal of a company could be, to train. So we will train all our workers, or if you wanted to make it more specific, we will have 4 workers training first aid every year. We will have 4 workers training in NEBOSH course every year. Just make up something as an intent, and that is what will work for the answer here anyway, right? And as a time is out on us, right? So if you want to get started, you can look at the books. I believe both books have this as headings. The headings would be statement of intent. I don't want you to cram it. My style of teaching is if you can understand it, you can make it up on your own. When you make it up on your own, it means you do have to cram, meaning you do have to study. Just think about, 4 things a company want to achieve: 0 accidents. Hey, what about welfare? Welfare was a good one. Huh? We could have put something on welfare, that we would maintain, like adequate temperature, drinking water. Welfare is such a good one, right? But you don't need 100, you only need 4 of that for your exam, right? Any closing comments? Right, so next week we almost finish. You'll see, but next week you'll finish element 2. I was telling you before, once element 1 is out of the way, it gets easier from there. As today's class would have shown you anyway, that it is easier from today. I'm going to stop the recording and we could probably have any